What's going on, everybody? Today I'm going to be showing you a competitive team building guide. I already uploaded a video for this a couple weeks ago, but I wasn't really happy with how it turned out. So here's take two. I'm going to try again, and hopefully this one's better than the last one. So before we jump into this, I just wanted to mention that when you're looking to build a team, you could go for the most overpowered Pokemon or whatever you want to do, but in my opinion, it's best if you pick Pokemon that you like, that you want to use. So in my case, I really enjoy Azelf. It's definitely my favorite Pokemon. It's got some solid stats: base 125 attack, 125 special attack, and 115 speed. There's a bunch of different sets you can use on an Azelf. You could go for physical or you could go for special. I prefer the special variant, but physical definitely has a bunch of different threats on it: Ice Punch, Knockoff, all that stuff. So the first thing I like to do when I pick a Pokemon that I want to use, it's basically going to be the star of my team. So I want it to be like the most powerful thing on my team, right? So I like to start off by picking an item for it. Now, determining which item to use can be kind of tricky, so here's how I like to narrow it down. If they have a solid speed of 110 or more, I like to go for either Choice Band or Choice Specs. In this case, I always run Choice Specs on Azelf. Choice Specs, in my opinion, is the best because as long as you can get a super effective move off with Azelf, it'll pretty much OHKO anything you send it out against. So it has plenty of options for moves. I usually like to go for a nice stab Psyshock. You could also use Psychic, but Psyshock kind of makes it less predictable. I prefer it over Psychic, and it's a nice little variation. Next, I like to put Fire Blast for coverage, because people might try to throw a Ferrothorn at you. So Fire Blast will definitely take that thing out in one hit. It also gets Energy Ball. You've also got Shadow Ball. I like to do Hidden Power Ice because people send out a bunch of dragons not expecting it. It's just great coverage. And last but not least, we could do Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball or Thunderbolt or Energy Ball, they're all great coverage, but in this case I think I'm gonna go for a Shadow Ball. And sometimes the suggested spreads up here are pretty much the ones that I go for, but unless it's something really specific I want, I usually don't change it. Make him shiny. Yeah, if you're running Specs or Choice Band, you definitely want a boosted speed nature because you can never get enough speed. And with base 115, the only things that are really big threats to Azelf would be certain Mega Evolutions. Their speed goes over 115. You've got Crobat, and you've got Greninja and Aerodactyl. That's pretty much it. I'm not too worried about it. The first thing I like to do, since he is a Psychic type, I like to give him a little coverage from Dark moves and Ghost moves. So, first things first, I like to use a Terrakion. Because of his ability Justified, it will boost his attack by one stage after being hit by a Dark type attack. So, someone tries to hit you with a Dark Pulse or something, just switch Terrakion in, get that attack boost, and then you're all set. This thing's definitely a threat. I like to run a Choice Scarf on him because he has 108 speed, which is pretty solid, but it's not that great, in my opinion. Get a nice stab, close combat there, Stone Edge. Those are his two stab moves, and then after that I like to go for some coverage moves. Since it is a Choice Scarf, it's going to be all attacking moves. Earthquake is a solid option. Poison Jab, I really enjoy Poison Jab because people try to switch a Togekiss in there, predicting a close combat, and they're dead. And last but not least, we can go for Zen Headbutt. No, I don't want Zen Headbutt. I'll go for X Scissor. Get that Jolly Nature with max attack and speed. He does look better shiny in my opinion. So I've got coverage for dark moves. I want coverage for ghost moves now. Chansey, in my opinion, a lot of people hate it. I love Chansey. I like to run Seismic Toss because it's just a solid amount of damage you can do every time, regardless of, you know, defense or attack or anything like that. As long as they're not a ghost type, you can get some solid damage off with Seismic Toss all the time. Next, Toxic is really good. Soft Boiled for health recovery, and then last but not least, I like to go for Aromatherapy with max defense and max HP. And of course, Eviolite, I didn't mention that. Eviolite will boost its defense and special defense by 1.5 times, so that's an extra 50% of both defenses. That gives him roughly 170 defense. So right now we've got our Psychic type. We have him covered for dark moves, so you can switch Terrakion into him, and then we've also got him covered on ghost moves. So if someone tries to get a Shadow Ball on you, you can just switch into Chansey. Next, my typical rule is 1 special defense wall and 1 physical defense wall. Right now we've got Chansey for the special defense, now we need 1 for physical defense. There's a lot of great options for physical defense. You got Ferrothorn, you got Gliscor, you got Mandibuzz. I really enjoy Mandibuzz. We've also got Skarmory. I'm thinking today I'm going to pick... Let's go with Mandibuzz. Mandibuzz is a really solid Pokemon. I like to run either Leftovers or Rocky Helmet on it, depending on what I need. I'm just gonna go with Leftovers in this case, just to get a little extra health recovery. Foul Play is a great option on it because it uses the opponent's attack stat into the damage calculation, so basically it's great on countering setup sweepers. Crazy how strong this move is sometimes. Next, I like to go for... Mandibuzz has plenty of options. I like going for Defog, just to get hazards and everything out of the way. Then you've got other options like Knockoff, Taunt, Whirlwind. I like using Whirlwind because if someone gets behind a substitute and they start boosting stats, you've got a huge problem on your hand and not many ways of countering it. So Whirlwind is a great option in my opinion. And then we can go for Roost to get a little more recovery on it. Since it already has base 110 health, I like to just go split on both defenses here. It's definitely a solid Pokemon. That brings it up to over 300 in both defenses with 361 HP. So now we've got both of our walls. I like to go in pairs of 2, so 2 physical, 2 special, and same thing with the walls. So I don't want more than 2 choice Pokemon. So if you kind of catch my drift, I really like doing everything in 2s. It makes for a really balanced team in my opinion. So next we can do Dragonite. Dragonite is really powerful. I love using multi-scale, which means if his health is maxed, he'll take half damage from all attacks. So I'd like to give him weakness policy because there's not much that will take him out. Like, he can survive a protein ice beam from Greninja if you have multi-scale. So yeah, basically the way I like to do it, I make sure that there's no stealth rocks or hazards that could affect Dragonite on the field first. So Mandibuzz with Defog is a definite thing to have out here, because if you get those stealth rocks hurting your Dragonite, you're going to break that multi-scale and you're not going to get the weakness policy before you get killed. So in this case, I like to make sure all hazards are gone before I send out Dragonite. And then I set up a Dragon Dance. As they hit me with a super effective move, I get that alone brings you up to 2.5 times attack, 2 times special attack, and 1.5 times speed from the Dragon Dance. So it's a really powerful combination, and that extreme speed is taking out pretty much any attacker that doesn't resist it. So Dragon Claw is a solid stab move. You don't really have many good options for flying moves with him. You've got Aerial Ace, which that's not doing much with a base power of 60, and you've also got Hurricane, but it's really unreliable. So unless you're running a rain team, I would never put Hurricane on anything. I like to put Fire Punch on it because that's just great coverage. People try sending in their physical walls, which are typically steel types, like Ferrothorn, and if you have a 2.5 times attack Dragonite using Fire Punch on a Ferrothorn, it is beyond dead. I like to do max attack and speed, but make it a jolly nature, because in most cases you're only getting that one extra boost from Dragon Dance to get your speed up. So there's Dragonite. He's a great physical sweeper, and he can also be used as a revenge killer because you have extreme speed, which is I think it's like +2 priority, so that shall go in front of a Talonflame using Brave Bird on you, so it's really useful. We need one more special attacker, so we've got Azelf, and Azelf has got Psychic, Fire, Ice, and Ghost coverage. We want to kind of get something that contrasts with all that, so I'm thinking a good option would be, you could definitely run Mega Venusaur on this team. That's what I'm thinking, because those are two types we don't already have. Shit, what did I do? I got rid of Azelf. That's great. But yeah, so you've got a Psychic type, you've got Dragon Flying, you've got a Dark Flying, you've got a Normal, you've got a Fighting Rock. So Grass Poison is something we just don't have on this team yet, and Mega Venusaur is so powerful. People like to run Sleep Powder, Leech Seed, and all that stall crap. I don't really like stalling, says the guy with the Chansey, but still, I don't really like running stall Pokemon that much, so I like to use Venusaur as a pure special attacker. I give him max special attack and HP. His ability when he goes Mega is actually Thick Fat, so he gets rid of 2 of his weaknesses, so he's left with only a Flying weakness and a Psychic weakness, which both of those aren't all that common. So I like to give him Giga Drain for health recovery, Sludge Bomb, that's kind of like his sweeper move. Wow, not Sludge Bomb, because it hits most things and does a ton of damage because not a lot really resists it. Just, you have to keep it away from those steel types. Last but not least, you can run either Hidden Power Ground or Hidden Power Fire. I like to go for Hidden Power Fire typically, but since we've already got Fire Blast on Azelf and we've got Fire Punch on Dragonite, Ground is something we don't have yet. We didn't put Earthquake on Terrakion, so I'm thinking Ground is definitely a solid option for him. And then last but not least, I like to go for Synthesis, because if you predict switches out just right, you can get all of your health back like nothing. Another option you could do is definitely Leech Seeds right there. So I like to give him HP and special attack, definitely modest nature, and there you go, that's our team. So if we go back and review it, Azelf is our star, so we got the choice specs, we've got Psyshock, Fire Blast, Hidden Power Ice, Shadow Ball. That's great coverage in itself. Basically, if you can keep him away from things that will outspeed him, and you can get a super effective move off, you will pretty much OHKO anything in your path. Next we've got the Dragonite. He's our kind of setup sweeper. If you get a Dragon Dance off and a weakness policy boost, it is ridiculously strong, the amount of damage you can do with priority move like Extreme Speed, and then you got Dragon Claw and Fire Punch. It's a really good set. Another option you could do instead of Fire Punch, if we wanted to run Hidden Power Fire on Venusaur, is you could do Earthquake, but to me, I really think Fire Punch is a better option than Earthquake. Next we've got Mandibuzz. It's kind of like our all-around wall. I like to use them more as like a defensive wall, but it works either way. You've got Foul Play, which can take out setup sweepers. You got Defog, get rid of hazards. You got Whirlwind to get rid of setup sweepers, say they're behind a sub or something. And then you've got Roost just for extra health recovery with the leftovers. So this thing's definitely hard to kill even with super effective moves. Next we got Chansey with the Eviolite, gets that 50% boost to both of its defenses. You've got Seismic Toss for some damage on your opponents every turn. You got Soft Boiled for pretty good recovery, it's very reliable. And then you've got Toxic, just to get a little residual damage off on them every turn. And then you've got Aromatherapy, basically for getting rid of all of your status ailments. And then we got a Choice Scarf, so he's basically our fast sweeper. You can send him into all sorts of threats that you know will outspeed you, and he has great coverage moves with 2 solid stab moves with really high base power. So he can take out a lot of serious threats that would normally outspeed him. And then last but not least, we got Mega Venusaur as a special attacker as well. So this, in my opinion, is a really good team. I would strongly encourage you guys to kind of use this advice to make your own team, and just kind of think of it in a way of like checks and balances. So use the Pokemon that you want to use, and then choose teammates that will cover his weaknesses, and then not only that, you can use him to cover their weaknesses. So it's all about balancing your team. Pairs of two is a great beginner's tactic for building a team. It gives you a really balanced team most of the times if you pick them right. So I hope that helped. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. Make sure to give me a thumbs up, and hopefully you should check out my other videos. I got a bunch of cool sweeps out there. Most recently, I got Meowstic and Gothitelle out there, so some pretty cool stuff. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm out. Bye!